Hi all of you, good afternoon. Yeah, Nidika, Fatima, Anfas, Sadia, Vatsala, all of you, good afternoon. Online and offline. ठीक है. Let's start from where we left last class. So one of you again reached out to me about the reference textbook. Okay, so Savindra Singh, there's one book called as Physical Geography, and then there are other specialized books, geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, ये अलग अलग किताब हैं. Environment geography. Okay, so I do clarify every time, but I'll do it again for all of you. This physical geography book, this is the comprehensive one. Okay, but this book doesn't have lot of topics you need as a part of specialized study. So this book अगर है तो हमें नहीं चाहिए. Some of you have bought it, so see if you want to exchange that or return it, whatever. We need these specialized books. Okay, so oceanography का अलग किताब है. I've shown that to you already. ठीक है, so optional students, you will need these books. The separate books हैं, geomorphology by Savindra Singh, oceanography Savindra Singh, and so on. Hi Vinay, good afternoon. Sanjay Shri, Hemant, Namrata. Okay, all of good afternoon. Hi Aditi. ठीक है? Oh yes, you're right, Fatima. Okay, good. Thanks reminding all of you. I mean, I'm told that now we have a cold wave in Delhi, right? And it does feel cold. Okay, what looks like fog is actually smog. Okay, I won't advise you to go out in the morning for morning walks anymore. Okay, आप घर में घूमते रहो if you can. Okay, balcony में मत जाना. It's colder, so it'll have more pollutants then. Okay, yes, right, and it's flu season. So what happens, I was asking a doctor, why does the flu increase in the cold conditions and pollution? So one reason is, this bacteria, virus, वैसे भी हमारे body में होते हैं. They are in our throat and all of that. So cold conditions में they get activated. That's why when you drink a glass of cold water, okay, that cold conditions activates some of those pathogens. Second, when you have pollution in the air, lot of bacteria, virus जो higher heights में होते हैं, they come down with the pollutants. The air along with the pollutant also has this bacteria and virus. So when you have pollutants, your chance of getting flu increases. ठीक है? Vinay, what was that? When dictating, please give some time to write and dictate slowly. Meri Jaan, join the madness. Okay, Vinay, you will learn, don't worry. थोड़ा मारपीट चाहिए. And I'll remember this sentence, okay? When you're asking me, sir, why is the course running slow? I'll put it on you. Okay. थोड़ा सा हाथ वाथ टूटना चाहिए. Start writing. You don't write in your life, you have this coming back to you. Yes. So now we know, Vinay, you are the new student. There, Namrata is pushing back. No, Vinay, he is dictating very slowly. Okay. And girls are always right. Acha, chalo, come back. Okay, all of you will all learn, don't worry. Okay. चलो, oceanography. But I must acknowledge I'm surprised so many of you in the class because New Year आ रहा है, छुट्टी होना चाहिए था अभी आप लोगों का. You guys disappear weekend से 3 दिन पहले, and New Year के बाद भी इतने बच्चे आ रहे हैं. क्या कोई घर वर नहीं है, क्या फैमिली है नहीं? हाँ? चलो, एनीवेज, अब बोल दिया, अब कल से गायब हो जाना. और जब गायब होते हो ना, तभी आई फील लाइक टीचिंग द मोर ट्रिकी टॉपिक्स. आई गेट मोर एनर्जी देन. अच्छा, सो आई थिंक दिस पार्ट इज क्लियर ऑल ऑफ यू. द प्रोसेसेस में what are this ocean divergence, which we have called as sea floor spreading. ये part clear हो गया? Okay, you must remember 4 things. This is where we have basalt eruptions. This is where we have a moor system. There is an axial rift valley, and this is where the ocean is created. 4 points. Okay, when the ocean is breaking apart and stretching, okay, in all the oceans, Pacific में भी है, Atlantic में भी है, Indian Ocean में भी है, ठीक है? So that's one. Then we understand what is O collisions. Okay, the 2 plates have come and collided. So in collisions, there will be subduction, there will be a trench, there will be accretionary prism, and there will be volcanic islands. We have called these as archipelago. And these volcanic islands are what type of rocks? Andesite. So 4 points यहाँ याद रखना है, and 4 points आपको यहाँ याद रखना है. Yeah, I'm revising. We start off the first few minutes, we revise. And we have OC collisions. In OC collisions, subduction यहाँ पर भी होगा, trench यहाँ भी बनता है. Here also we have these sediments, but यहाँ पे extra हो रहा है. That is, they form fold mountains. The one type of mountains that is accumulation of sediments, like the Andes Mountains, Rockies Mountains, Atlas Mountains. In this case, the sediments are less. They do not come out of water. They remain in the water. In this case, they come out of water and they form fold mountains. And we said that this is far more complex. It is far more enormous. Okay, it is far thicker in accumulation. Okay, they become fold mountains. और यहाँ पर volcanic islands नहीं है, but we do have volcanic eruptions which become volcanic mountains on the fold mountains. And this also will be andesite. Every class के बाद में, when you make a summary sheet, okay, you can check what I am revising in your summary sheet. More or less यही होगा. What I have taught across last 1-2 hours, I summarize that in 15-20 minutes. We have a sense of continuity then. Hi Jyoti, good afternoon. ठीक है. All good? All fine here? Achha. So these 3 things you know. Okay, the type of landforms associated. Achha. What if you asked me something about a term called as Benioff zone? See, I am not teaching tectonics right now. I am teaching ocean ka kuch, theek hai? There are a lot of nuances. So, fine, you asked me, so I am explaining. When we have an ocean lithosphere going inside, the lithosphere will rub against the mantle. ये vacuum थोड़ी है. यहाँ पर भी rocks हैं. This also has some material here. There's rubbing going on. And sometimes this can also break. या से टूट जाएगा because it's heavy. So all this rubbing, breaking, this can create earthquakes. So this zone this subduction process, okay, is a lot of rubbing, breaking going on. So this area can have lot of earthquakes. Okay, this is an earthquake zone. It goes inside the mantle. This earthquake zone is called as Benioff zone. So Benioff zone is not same as subduction process. Benioff zone is the consequence of subduction process. उसे linked है. Okay. So in one sentence maybe the Benioff zone is the zone of earthquakes concentration, okay, associated with ocean floor subduction. ठीक है, पता है तो अच्छी बात है, otherwise you can mention this point. Yes, correct. The full name is Benioff Wadati zone. Correct. Same thing. Benioff, W-A-D-I-T-I. Benioff Wadati zone of earthquakes. Okay. It is not subduction itself. It is not the ocean slab itself. The zone where earthquakes concentrate, that zone is called as the Benioff Wadati zone, and it is associated with the ocean floor subducting into the mantle. All fine, all of you? Take care. Some of you know about tectonics. We move on now. Achha. Then we have discussed. Achha, ye diagrams to you all have seen more or less. Ocean continent collision, the summary of the rocks, Earth's interior structures, the sea floor spreading. This is the ocean collision and archipelagos. Okay, this is the subduction process again shown here. This also has subduction process here also. Yeah, so more or less we have done this. So we now started with, okay, what is the zonation? The zonation of the ocean floor. Okay, so we have the continent, the gentle sloping shelf, the break, the slope, the abyssal plains. Okay. We have more systems, the trenches and so on. This is a very general diagram of the zonation of the oceans. And this is your ocean water. Ocean water here. Okay. So, यहाँ से यहाँ तक ये shelf हो गया. This is your slope, your transition zone called as rise, the abyssal plains, the moors, the trenches. Abyssal plain, the rise, the slope, and the shelf. ठीक है, no questions यहाँ तक ठीक है? And I gave you two names. This scheme was given by Thurman and Tergillo. Given by Thurman. So use these names for enrichment. Now we'll go a bit more detailed into this. Okay. So 4 or 5 points in each one of them. So keep writing with me. We talk about the continental shelf. Okay. Heading and 4 or 5 points. The continental shelf. This is the shallowest part of the ocean. Okay. The water depth is less than 200 meters or less than 100 fathoms. Fathom is another unit for measuring depth. The depth of water is less than 200 meters. Okay, so if you start from the coast, okay, so this depth, maximum depth यहीं पर होता है. This is 200 मीटर का depth है. इसके बाद में the depth starts increasing. Okay, so the depth of water is less than 200 meters. This is part of what's called as the photic zone. Photic zone का मतलब होता है where sunlight can penetrate. Okay, so oceans में जो पहला 200 मीटर होता है, this is the photic zone. Good sunlight can penetrate. The shelf is part of the photic zone. Okay, and this is very high in terms of biological activity. Okay, a lot of sunlight, organisms are here, coral reefs are here, okay, water gets circulating here. Okay, there's very high biological activities. The shelf is rich in life forms, which includes coral reefs. It can include seaweeds. It includes fishes. There's a high productivity zone, very high biological activity, very high biological productivity zone. And the shelf receives sediments from the continents. Okay, so the rivers आ रहे हैं, waves लेके आ रहे हैं, winds. So there are a lot of sediments from the continents brought on the shelf. It has sediments sourced from the continents. Okay, it receives sediments from the continents. As sediments, okay, they form deposits called as terrigenous deposits. Terrigenous means of the terrestrial origin. Sentence मत लिखो, बस keywords लिखना है. Okay, sentence आप बना लोगे अपने आप. Okay, so they receive sediments from the continents. So they have one type of sediments called as terrigenous sediments. Sediments from the continents. Sediments or deposits. Now the shelf, okay, it can have shallower parts. ये shelf है, ये shelf भी ऐसे flat थोड़ी होगा. This shelf also will have some elevations, some, so ऐसे irregular होता है. So the shelf is not a flat surface. The shelf itself can have, okay, certain more shallow. तो ये depth ज़्यादा है, ये depth थोड़ा कम depth हो गया, ये थोड़ा कम depth हो गया, फिर दोबारा ज़्यादा depth हो गया. So this a shelf is not a smooth surface. The shelf itself can have elevations like this. Right? So the shelf can have shallower parts, and these are called as banks and shoals. अगर बहुत चौड़ा है, it's very wide, we call that as bank. If not very wide, we call that as shoal, S-H-O-A-L, shoals. This diagram में, maybe this is a shoal, छोटा है. As a very wide one, this is called as a bank. Not as wide, this could be a shoal. So when there is a wider one, it's called as a bank, otherwise called as shoal. The shelf has shallower parts called as banks and shoals. Banks and shoals, and these will be very important for fishing. जहाँ पर भी ऐसे banks हैं, जहाँ भी ऐसे shoals हैं, they are very important for fishing. Okay, the important fishing zones of the world. So दो तीन नाम याद रखो. Okay, so off Canada coast, around what's called as a new found land island. Off का मतलब है coast के beyond. Off Canadian coast, around an island called as Newfoundland Island, there are banks. यहाँ पर कुछ banks हैं. Okay, very famous one is called as the Grand Bank. इसी Grand Bank का एक और extension है, is called as the Peary Bank. Okay, we also have Sable Bank. Okay, off Canada coast, around the Newfoundland Island, there are banks called as Grand Bank. Grand Bank is the biggest one, the Grand Banks. Okay, and Peary Bank, उसी का extension है, a bit more southwards. Sable Bank, S-A-B-L-E, Sable Bank. Okay, and so on. And these are very important fishing zones. It's very important for fishing. एक type का fish है called as cod, C-O-D, cod. Okay, Canada East Coast kind of specializes in the cod fishing. Okay, it has cod fishing, one type of fish called as cod. वैसे we have such banks in North Sea. North Sea में ऐसी एक bank है called as the Dodger Bank. Again, very important for fishing, but Dodger Bank is more important for a type of fish called as herrings. Okay, the Grand Bank important for cod, and the Dodger Bank important for herring fishing. Okay, so if you look at the map of Atlantic Ocean, Florida here, okay, this here, Greenland, Iceland, okay, we have Africa, this is Spain, Portugal, okay, these are the islands here of Britain. So ये वाला जो area है, this is called as North Sea. यहाँ पर North Sea है, and यहाँ पर, okay, you have this island of, okay, Newfoundland somewhere here. So इसी के साथ में, okay, there is a bank here. There's a bank here. और इसके अंदर में there is a bank here. So this is called as, okay, the Grand Bank. Grand Bank. And this is called as the Dodger Bank in the North Sea. That's Africa. That's Africa like this. Equator is here. The Tropic of Cancer is here. Okay, this is Spain. This is Portugal. Okay, this is France. This is Britain. इसके बीच में North Sea है. North Sea का part will have this Dodger Bank. And this is the island of Newfoundland Island. No, ऐसा होता नहीं है यानू. All sediments will not necessarily become smooth. Okay, and not all parts are covered by sediments equally. Desert में sediments हैं, थोड़ी desert थोड़ी smooth हो जाता है, sand dunes भी होते हैं. ये assumption ही गलत है कि सारा कुछ smooth रहेगा. ठीक है? So the shelf is, okay, the gentle sloping part. अच्छा, ये point हम लिखाना भूल गए आपको. The shallow part यहीं पर add कर लो. Okay, shallow part, and the shallow part which has a very gentle slope. The slope is less than 1 degree. Okay, gentle slope, less than 1 degree. And you move down, the shelf is very important for resources. Okay, we have biodiversity, corals, we have fishing, we also have the bulk of world's oil and gas. It's a very important. Some places We have oil gas on the continents. इंडिया में अहमदाबाद के पास में है oil. In Russia, we have some oil along river Volga. But the bulk of the world's oil is in the shelf. So if you know about the shelf of Gulf of Mexico, we have the Persian Gulf, the shelf of the Arabian Sea, the shelf of the North Sea, the shelf of a sea called as Barents Sea, the shelf of a water body called as Gulf of Guinea. Gulf of Guinea is coast of Nigeria. Okay. So these areas have lot of oil gas. Gulf of Mexico is sub shelf ka hi part hai. The Gulf of Mexico, the Persian Gulf, the shelf of Arabian Sea. Yeah, Arabian Sea, Fatima, includes Somalia shelf and also Indian West Coast shelf. The Mumbai High is part of the Arabian Sea shelf. Okay, the North Sea, okay, जो बताया अभी हमें Britain, North Sea. Barents Sea is Arctic Ocean. Gulf of Guinea is the coast along Africa, Nigeria ka coast. Okay. Are you aware of this war going on in Nigeria? A couple of days ago, we had bombing by the US, okay, in Nigeria. And uska reason oil hi hai, to some extent. Nigeria has typical north-south divide. Northern part of Nigeria, it has tribes, farming, pastoralism, a lot of poverty, Sahara desert extensions. Southern Nigeria has oil. Southern Nigeria has big cities. Southern Nigeria has oil plantations. Southern Nigeria is more richer. ये gap है. And then, of course, the problems of history, terrorism. ठीक है? So, the Gulf of Guinea coast, this is the delta region of a river called as River Niger, okay, in Nigeria. Okay. So all of this has oil. These are oil regions of the world. So the shelf is rich in oil and gas. The shelf is rich in oil and gas. Okay, so for sake of idea, okay, so I'll draw this quickly. If you can find, otherwise doesn't matter. We'll see how we can do that later on. So that's so these are the oil regions. Gulf of Mexico has oil. यहाँ पर Venezuela है. यहाँ पर भी oil. This is the Gulf of Guinea. This is the North Sea. This is the Persian Gulf. This is the Barents Sea. Barents Sea. This is Persian Gulf. This is Gulf of Guinea. This is the Gulf of Mexico. This is a region called as Maracaibo Lake of Venezuela. This is the North Sea. Okay, these are the Arabian Sea coasts. इधर भी है. This is the Somali coast. यहाँ पर भी oil है. This is the Arabian Sea coast. So I've quickly shown कहाँ पर. Okay, we have oil resource across the world. Yeah, you can try drawing it if you want to. I'll leave it for some time on the board. नहीं बनता है तो ठीक है. You can still struggle somewhat. At least know the places. You don't have to draw the entire world map हर बार. जो दिखाना उतने दिखाओ. मुझे इधर दिखाना ही नहीं है. वैसे भी China has a problem with me, so I ignore it. I'll show this part. But of course, even South China Sea has. वो भी ऐड कर लो आप. वही शेल्फ का ही पार्ट है. वही तो झगड़ा है. Okay. South China Sea. This also is shelf part, it has oil. The South China Sea oil. Okay, so further eastwards. Okay, the shelf is a shallow part. It's a very gentle sloping part. It's part of the photic zone. It has lot of biodiversity. It has lot of resources. So economically, a very, very valuable part of the oceans are the shelves. All done? नहीं, इसको ऐसे ही लिखो. ईस्ट इंडीज इंडिया हो जाता है. ईस्ट इंडीज इज इंडोनेशिया. ईस्ट इंडीज इज फिलीपींस. वेस्ट इंडीज अब टर्म नहीं है. वेस्ट इंडीज अब सिर्फ हम क्रिकेट टीम को ही बोलते हैं. द आइलैंड्स हियर आर वेस्ट इंडीज. इसको आप शेल्फ ऑफ वेनेजुएला बोलो. लेक तो नहीं है, इट्स एक्चुअली लगून. कैसा है, कैसा लूप बना हुआ है. ओके, दिस इज द लेक मराकाइबो. रिच ऑयल, हम जब ओपेक बोलते हैं ना, ओके, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ पेट्रोलियम एक्सपोर्टिंग कंट्रीज, ओपेक, वेनेजुएला इज वन ऑफ द ओपेक कंट्रीज. इट्स अ बिग ऑयल रिसोर्सेस, but then embargo and conflicts, okay, have not yielded the benefits it should have. I can move on, all of you, now. That's about the slope. Okay, now shelf. Now one point here, shelf mein, okay, the shelf is broad and extensive on the coasts. On the coasts that do not have a subduction and trenches. The shelf is broad, the shelf is extensive along coasts that do not have subduction, okay, and trenches. They don't have subduction and trenches. Okay, so imagine, ये अगर continent है ऐसे, okay, and the ocean is subducting here. This is pushing against. Push में क्या होगा? Okay, this landform gets modified. It becomes steep like this and water. यहाँ पर कोई shallow part है ही नहीं. Directly खत्म हुआ coast, directly the slope starts. Okay, अगर subduction हो रहा है, okay, ocean going down, or there is trenches, I will not have shelf or very narrow shelf. जहां पर subduction नहीं है, this is the continent here, okay, this and this is the ocean floor, and this is the water. No subduction here. Then the shelf is broad. Okay, so shelf are broad only where the subduction is not there. So we call these areas as passive margins. और जहां पर subduction हो रहा है, we call these as active margins. The shelf is very narrow, almost non-existent when there are active margins, and the shelf is broader when, okay, the margins are passive margins. The shelf is broad, extensive if the margins are active, are not active, and if, okay, that do not have subduction, this is passive. Okay, और जहां पर subduction है, this is an active boundary. So अगर आप नॉर्थ अमेरिका कंपेयर करते हैं, if you look at Alaska, Canada, California, South America, Florida, say this is North America and South America. Okay, so on this side, this is the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean subducting under the North America. तो यहाँ पर you have these trenches. यहाँ पर trench बनेगा. You have got trenches here. You have got trenches here. You got trenches here. The ocean is again going down. You have got trenches here. Okay, and this side there's no subduction. Okay, so there is no trench, no trench, no trench, no trench. So on this side, okay, so on this side, the shelf is much more broader. The shelf is pretty broader. Very broad shelves here. यहाँ पर almost non-existent. Right? So, लिख लो it down. Okay. The Pacific coast of North and South America are active margins. The Pacific coast of North and South America are active margins and therefore have very narrow or non-existent shelves. The Pacific margins are active margins, so almost non-existent or passive margins, whereas the Atlantic coast, this side, the ocean is Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic coast, okay, is passive margins. So, a broad shelf. ये passive margins हैं, so a broad. यहाँ पर shelf can extend almost 1500, 2000 किलोमीटर तक shelf होगा. Pretty broad. On this side, it's almost non-existent. Okay, the Atlantic coast has broad shelves because passive margins, whereas the Pacific Ocean side of America has active margins. There are trenches. Okay, this is called as the Californian Trench. This is called as British Columbia Trench. Okay, we have the Alaskan Trench. This is called as the Peru-Chile Trench. Name a place, you name the trench along with that. The Californian Trench, the British Columbia Trench, the Alaskan Trench, the Peru-Chile Trench. A country का नाम है Peru-Chile. The Peru-Chile Trench. So along these trenches, the shelf is almost non-existing. All done, all of you? जब भी आप आंसर्स लिखें ज्योग्राफी में, wherever possible, please give the name of the place. Okay, इसीलिए you have to know Newfoundland Island, North Sea, Britain, Gulf of Guinea, Gulf of Mexico. Without the names of places, geography is no use. So, you know, I think last week, to nahi bolenge, yeah, last week almost, somebody who is reaching out constantly to me. Good evening, sir. Good morning, sir. Are you Shabbir Sir? Are you not Shabbir Sir? Okay, and the common problem is, sir, I can't remember anything. How do I remember? How do I remember? So I asked a question, बताओ कहाँ से पढ़ रहे हो और क्या पढ़ रहे हो? Sir, I'm reading this, that, याद नहीं हो रहा, याद नहीं हो रहा. See, the problem is, okay, what I'm teaching right now has lot of conceptual concepts. Subduction, there is plate motions, tectonics. But ये सारा subduction you can relate only when you know the places. Okay, and in geography हम assume करते हैं when North America क्या है पता होना चाहिए. Okay, South America, I expect you know this. You may not know Newfoundland Island, so बता दिया यहाँ पे एक island यहाँ पर है. So there is no shortcut for this. You have to remember the names. अब इसका नाम Alaska है तो Alaska है, right? इसमें logic क्या लगाऊं मैं? Okay, if the name is British Columbia, it's British Columbia. Remember it. You have to know this as a part of a basic GS or basic GK. GS भी नहीं. अगर यहाँ पर वेनेजुएला है, अब थोड़ी पढ़ाएंगे कि आओ बच्चों आज पढ़ते हैं countries of South America. Okay, I'm assuming you know Venezuela here. पिछले almost 3 months से news चल रहा है. America attacking Venezuela, Maracaibo. So you should know these facts. So there is no shortcut to, sir, how can I remember this? Okay, put time, put effort, अपने आप draw करो. Okay, मैं क्या करूँ? इसका नाम Pacific है तो है, मैं क्या करूँ? Atlantic है तो है. You must remember this. Okay, 1 plus 2 is 3, but this is called as 1. रट्टा मारोगे, right? अब इसको हम 3 ही बोलते हैं. तो spelling THRE है, रट्टा मारो. Why 3? I've got no clue there. Okay, so you have to remember the name of places. There is no short game here. I can explain concepts and you'll remember better if you know the places also. Okay, so these terms ओके नहीं पता है तो दैट्स हाउ यू लर्न. आप सुनोगे, गो बैक एंड राइट डाउन एंड रिमेंबर. ठीक है. दैट बॉय वाज राइटिंग टू मी, आप स्टॉप रिस्पॉन्डिंग. मैं क्या बोलूं उसको, हाउ टू रिमेंबर. मैंने कहा अब ज्वाइन कर ले कोर्स, और क्या. इतना डिस्ट्रेस. ओके पूछ रहा है सब, कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा. डिस्प्ले द एक्टिव मार्जिन्स. डिस्प्ले एज इन शो, राइट. आई कैन नॉट. व्हाट अबाउट कोस्ट ऑफ चाइना, रशिया. हाँ बहुत है. ओके